The old cabin stood nestled amidst towering pines, their branches casting eerie shadows across the weathered wooden walls. Inside, four friends played cards by the warm glow of the fireplace.
Ha! I win again. You guys are too easy.
Little did they know, this year, their laughter would be replaced by screams of terror. They were more than friends, they were brothers. Michael, CJ, James and Brandon had been through thick and thin together.
You always manage to make us laugh, Michael.
Even in the worst situations.
You're a lifesaver, man.
But now a strange unease settled over the group. Michael grew increasingly withdrawn, his usual exuberance replaced by brooding silence.
Hey, Michael, where'd you get that necklace?
The necklace, a family heirloom, radiated a strange energy, a palpable aura of menace. The laughter faded, replaced by unsettling silence. Michael retreated to his room early. One night, blood-curdling screams shattered the stillness. His friends found him thrashing wildly on his bed.
Michael, calm down, we're here.
Whatever darkness had taken root within Michael was gaining strength. Michael's hand trembled, something alive and writhing beneath his skin.
Guys.
His features twisted in pain, teeth lengthening into fangs, fingernails hardening into claws.
What's happening to me?
The curse that haunted Michael's family tightened its grip. Fear became a constant companion. Sleep offered no respite. Nightmares intensified. They spoke in hushed tones, filled with whispered speculation and growing dread. Desperate for answers, CJ visited an old bookstore. The proprietor listened intently.
The curse you describe is ancient. There may be a way, but it will be perilous.
Yes, for Michael, I would do anything.
The old man handed CJ a worn piece of parchment, sealing their fate with ancient wisdom and newfound hope. The journey to Blackwood Abbey was fraught with danger. Legends spoke of malevolent spirits and ancient curses.
We need to pack our things and get moving.
They packed their belongings, faces grim with determination. The air grew heavy with the scent of decay as they drove deeper into the forest. The ruins loomed before them, a skeletal silhouette against the darkening sky.
The Crimson Tome lies within the heart of the beast.
They navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the stench of decay growing stronger. Moonlight filtered through the ceiling, illuminating a stone altar etched with strange symbols. A low growl shattered the silence. A creature born of nightmares rose before them.
I have to take the shot.
Don't. Violence will only anger it further.
The creature lunged, jaws snapping shut just inches from James's face. They were trapped in a deadly game of cat and mouse.
Remembering the old man's cryptic words, CJ scanned the chamber, his eyes searching for any clue, any sign that might offer them a way out. The stained glass windows, depicting the eternal struggle between good and evil, sparked an idea. He remembered the old man saying, "Sometimes the answer lies not in fighting the darkness, but in embracing the light. Distract it. I have an idea."
James, his heart pounding in his chest, charged towards the creature, yelling at the top of his lungs. The creature, momentarily distracted by James's audacity, turned its attention away from CJ.
CJ scrambled onto the altar, his eyes drawn to a loose stone near the base of a stained glass window depicting a radiant angel. He heaved with all his might, his muscles screaming in protest. The stone, loosened by centuries of decay, finally gave way, sending a shaft of moonlight directly onto the creature below. The creature howled in pain, its body smoking and sizzling as if consumed by an invisible fire. It thrashed wildly, its claws tearing at its own flesh as it desperately tried to escape the light. But it was too late. The light intensified, engulfing the creature in a blinding flash. When the light subsided, the creature was gone, leaving behind only a faint wisp of smoke and the lingering stench of decay. Silence descended upon the chamber, heavy and absolute. The air, still thick with the stench of the creature's demise, crackled with residual energy. Inside, nestled upon a bed of faded velvet, lay a book. Bound in crimson leather, its cover bore no title, only an intricate design of silver that seemed to shift and writhe. This was the Crimson Tome, the key to breaking the curse. He could feel the weight of its knowledge, the burden of its power.
He called out to his friends, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. But as they saw the book in CJ's hands, a flicker of hope ignited in their eyes.
They gathered around the book, their faces illuminated by the pale moonlight filtering through the crumbling ceiling. The Crimson Tome, once a distant hope, now lay open before them, its pages filled with arcane symbols and ancient incantations. Hope, fragile yet tenacious, bloomed in their chests. They had the book. They could save Michael.
CJ began to read aloud, his voice trembling at first, then gaining strength as the words resonated with a power he couldn't comprehend. The air crackled with energy, the ancient words weaving a tapestry of magic around them. But as he delved deeper into the ritual, a sense of unease crept over him. The book spoke of sacrifice, of a price that had to be paid to sever the bonds of the curse.
He glanced at his friends, their faces illuminated by the book's eerie glow. He saw fear in their eyes, but also an unwavering resolve. They were in this together, for better or worse. They had come too far to turn back now. He continued reading, his voice growing stronger, his resolve hardening with each passing moment. They performed the intricate rituals outlined in the book, their movements precise, their voices chanting in unison. The air crackled with energy, the shadows in the chamber twisting and contorting as if alive. The book had warned of consequences, of unforeseen repercussions, but they were determined to see this through. They had to save Michael. Back at the cabin, a storm raged, mirroring the turmoil brewing within Michael's soul. He thrashed on the floor, his body racked with spasms, his screams swallowed by the howling wind. The transformation, held at bay by the ritual, was now accelerating, consuming him with terrifying speed.
No, not now. I can't hold it back.
His skin, once tanned and healthy, took on a sickly pallor, stretched taut over bones that seemed to twist and reshape themselves. His eyes, once filled with warmth and laughter, now burned with a cold, malevolent fire. The silver necklace, pulsating with an eerie light, seemed to burrow deeper into his flesh, a malevolent parasite feeding on his humanity.
It hurts so much.
He snarled, a sound that ripped from his throat, raw and primal. The once familiar cabin, now distorted by his warped perception, became a cage, a prison of wood and stone. The scent of pine and damp earth, once comforting, now sickened him, replaced by the metallic tang of blood and the cloying stench of decay.
Get out of my head! I can't fight it!
He could feel his mind fracturing, splintering under the onslaught of the curse. Memories once cherished now flickered and faded, replaced by something dark and ancient, something monstrous. He was losing himself, drowning in the abyss of his own transformation, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. As the last words of the ritual echoed in the ruins of the Abbey, a wave of energy erupted from the book, throwing the friends back. CJ dropped the Crimson Tome. The chamber was empty. His friends were gone.
No, this can't be happening.
Panic seized him. He called out for them, his voice echoing in the silence, but there was no answer. A low growl, guttural and menacing, echoed from deep within the Abbey. It was something darker, something hungry.
Guys, where are you? Please, answer me.
He scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding. As he ran through the corridors, the growl grew louder. There, at the end of the corridor, stood Michael. But he was no longer the Michael they knew. His eyes, glowing with malevolent hunger, fixed on CJ. The monster had found them, and the hunt had begun. Terror, primal and consuming, seized CJ. He stumbled back, his foot catching on a loose stone. Michael, his humanity swallowed by the monstrous entity within, stalked closer.
I have to get out of here.
CJ scrambled back, adrenaline surging through his veins. The Abbey, once a sanctuary, was now a hunting ground.
James, Brandon, where are you?
He could hear James and Brandon's panicked shouts in the distance. There was nowhere left to run. He was trapped, and the creature was closing in. Michael emerged from the shadows, his monstrous form filling the doorway. His skin, stretched taut over a grotesque parody of a human frame, shimmered under the pale moonlight. His eyes, once warm and inviting, blazed with a cold, inhuman hunger. The air crackled with a palpable aura of menace, a tangible manifestation of the evil that had consumed him.
Michael, it's me, CJ. Don't you recognize me?
CJ backed away, his heart pounding against his ribs. He raised his hands in a gesture of supplication, his voice hoarse with fear. For a moment, a flicker of recognition, a spark of the friend he once knew, flickered across Michael's monstrous visage. The creature hesitated, its grotesque head cocked to the side as if listening to a distant echo. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the spark vanished, extinguished by the overwhelming tide of darkness that held him captive. A low growl rumbled deep within Michael's chest, a sound that vibrated through the very foundations of the Abbey. He lunged, his claws outstretched, his jaws open in a silent snarl. CJ, fueled by a surge of adrenaline, dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's attack. The impact sent him sprawling across the cold stone floor. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he couldn't afford to hesitate. He scrambled to his feet, his eyes scanning the chamber for any means of escape, any weapon to defend himself. But he was unarmed, alone, facing a nightmare made flesh. He heard his friends' desperate cries echoing through the Abbey, their voices a symphony of fear and anguish. They were still alive, but for how long? He had to do something, anything, to buy them time, to give them a chance to escape. But what could he, one man against a monster, possibly do? Then, as he met Michael's gaze, a terrible truth settled upon him. There would be no reasoning with this creature, no appealing to the humanity that lay buried beneath its monstrous exterior. The Michael they knew, the friend they loved, was gone, consumed by the curse. The only way to stop him, to protect the world from the evil he had become, was to end his suffering. The realization hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath and leaving a hollow ache in his chest. But even in the face of his overwhelming grief, he knew what he had to do. He had to make a choice, a sacrifice to save the many from the one. He wouldn't let Michael's suffering, his transformation, be in vain.
Michael, this ends here now. I won't let you take them too.
CJ drew himself up, his gaze unwavering. He would honor his friend, not with tears and remembrances, but with a final act of love, a painful mercy. He wouldn't let Michael become the monster the curse intended. He called out, his voice echoing in the vast chamber, a beacon of defiance in the face of despair.
Michael, this ends here now. I won't let you take them too.
The sound of his own voice, strong and resolute, seemed to startle the creature. Michael hesitated, his monstrous head cocked to the side, a flicker of confusion momentarily eclipsing the cold fire in his eyes. For a fleeting second, CJ dared to hope, to believe that somewhere deep within the heart of the beast, a fragment of their friend still remained. But it was not to be. The moment passed, and the monstrous hunger returned, burning brighter than ever. Michael roared, a sound filled with rage and anguish, and charged. And in the echoing silence that followed, there was no victory, only the hollow ache of loss. The silence in the Abbey was deafening. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight filtering through the ruined ceiling, illuminating the scene of devastation. CJ stood, his body trembling with exhaustion, amidst the wreckage of their confrontation. The air hung heavy with the stench of decay, a lingering reminder of the monstrous presence that had once haunted these halls. His gaze fell upon Michael's necklace, the silver serpents now dull and lifeless, lying amidst the rubble. It was a chilling reminder of the ancient evil that had haunted their friend, a malevolent force that even their bond of friendship couldn't overcome. He picked it up, the metal cold against his skin, and felt a surge of sorrow so profound it threatened to consume him.
There.
His friends, their faces etched with a mixture of horror and relief, emerged from the shadows, drawn together by the shared weight of their loss. No words were spoken, none were needed. The raw grief in their eyes, the silent tears that streamed down their cheeks, spoke volumes. They had faced their fears, confronted the unimaginable, and emerged victorious, but at a cost too terrible to bear. CJ looked at their faces, the faces of the people who had been his family, his brothers in arms, and knew that their lives would never be the same. The light-hearted laughter that had once filled their lives was gone, replaced by a haunting silence, the ever-present ache of a wound that might never fully heal. They buried Michael beneath the boughs of an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching towards the heavens as if in mourning. The crimson tome, its pages filled with forgotten lore and dangerous secrets, lay open beside his grave, a testament to the sacrifices made in the face of unimaginable darkness. As they stood over his grave, the weight of their actions pressed down on them with suffocating intensity. They had taken a life they had sworn to protect, a life that had been intricately woven into the fabric of their own. The memory of their final confrontation, the agonizing decision they had been forced to make, haunted their waking hours, a constant replay of their worst nightmare. But even in the depths of their despair, they found solace in the knowledge that they had honored their friend's memory. They had loved him enough to let him go, to spare him from the monstrous fate that had befallen him. They had loved him enough to make the ultimate sacrifice, to shoulder the burden of his loss so that others wouldn't have to. They left the abbey that day, their steps heavy with grief, their hearts filled with a haunting emptiness. The world outside seemed to continue as if nothing had changed, oblivious to the battle that had been fought, the sacrifices that had been made, the love that had been lost. They gathered every year at the old lake house, a place that held both joy and sorrow in equal measure. They shared stories, laughed, cried, and remembered the man who had brought them together, the man who had taught them that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. And as the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, they could almost hear his laughter echoing through the trees, a faint whisper on the wind. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of love and friendship can never be extinguished. Years passed, seasons turned, and the sharp edges of their grief gradually softened, leaving behind a dull ache that would forever linger in their hearts. They went their separate ways, each carrying the weight of their shared experience, the memory of their lost friend a constant presence in their lives. And yet, despite the pain, despite the loss, they found solace in the memories they had made, the laughter they had shared, the unbreakable bond of friendship that not even death could sever. They remembered Michael as he had been, the life of the party, the one who could always make them smile, the friend who had taught them the true meaning of loyalty, courage, and love.